was through the pandemic. We had started working on a platform for Cahoots, and before the pandemic, we were building this platform for Cahoots to help bring our educational programming, our lunch and learns, and our matching experts to businesses program together, our advisor network essentially together in a digital space, because we were getting asked by municipalities and community colleges on how they can better run entrepreneurship programs that they have. And so this was all before the pandemic in 2019. And so we started just looking at that, and seemed like a natural progression of the work that we do in our co-working space at Cahoots. And it was, we've constantly struggled with how do we grow what we're doing with the co-working and entrepreneurship stuff that we do without having to take on the capital of a physical space. And so we were exploring this idea and building this model. And then the pandemic hit, and we had to shut down for a little bit and redirected all of our resources to focus on this other idea that we were already starting to churn on. And it just kind of fell in place. And the city of Mesa actually reached out and said, we know you do a lot of this work in helping small businesses and entrepreneurs. We really actually don't know what is the best way to approach this right now. We're looking at all kinds of ideas, and we really think that this might be an opportunity for us to rethink how we run our support for entrepreneurs and small businesses. And so they reached out and they said, we're opening this RFP. We'd love for you to apply and see if there's some kind of partnership we can build together, where you guys have expert knowledge in this space. We might have the ability to accelerate and grow what you're thinking. Pitch us your best idea. And we had already started moving on these pieces, and there are a few components of it that they knew that they wanted, which was one-on-one assistance for small businesses and a way to kind of better reach hard to reach businesses, which is very aligned with the work that we do. And so we put together our vision for what we think cities should be doing based off of a lot of experience in working with cities. But we put together that pitch, and it, part of it was already built out, but it was built out for us. Now we looked at it and said, gosh, if we had the city's support and it could actually be free versus what we were planning to charge for. Imagine how many small businesses that need the help right now could be served and supported. And so we threw that pitch in, and they loved the idea of HUUB, which is a centralized resource center for all things small business within your community, and with a lot of automation and streamlined support. They loved that idea and triggered the start of HUUB. I'm not a technical founder, so this has been quite a journey to figure out how to do this. I do have, a marketing design background, so I can contribute in that way, and I have a lot of experience in just this industry. I think the hardest thing is this is a completely different way to build a business than I've been used to. We are bootstrapped. We don't have any outside funding, but that I'm used to, the scrappiness of it. What I'm not very familiar with that we've had to learn over time is just how to work with developers and trust them and find the right ones and navigate the day-to-day nuances of development and technology. I remember, one of the things that I brought back that I keep asking our cohort at Startup AZ Foundation, it's is this normal? Is it normal for it to feel like everything's gonna break tomorrow, or that it feels like this isn't fully fleshed out? Because in the small business world, I feel like I know everything about the work that I do here. There's there's very little that's new to me in the business that I run on co-working in physical space. If I don't know how to do it, I'm very confident I can figure out how to do it. That includes climbing in elevator shafts and figuring out, how the gates work and codes and things like that. But I can't just pick up and learn how to code in a new language tomorrow, right? Like that's just not something that's in me to do. And so to be able to find a like partner that we really trust to do that, that knows how to navigate the whole flow of iterations and adjustments and then constantly be improving upon it. And I think I've had to just settle in with the idea of like things will break all the time. And I think the thing that I've learned from that is you still use your skills around communication to like alleviate the stressors to customers, the stressors to our city partners, and even to our own team who is also new to doing some of this, right? Like we have our community manager, operations manager, we're not technologists either. And we pulled a lot of our team from Cahoots to build this to begin with. And so there was a lot of just learning of like, this is normal for this not to work right now. We need to mitigate as much of that damage as possible, but it's practically impossible to get away from something not breaking, I guess. I think our team is pretty incredible right now. And, we all come from different backgrounds, have different experiences, but we all have a passion for building something as an entrepreneur, as a small business. Like each of us have a different connection to like being an entrepreneur. And I love that. And I think we've figured out how to navigate the digital remote world through this pandemic shift. And it's actually been for the better. Like I know a ton of people that hate doing Zoom calls, but it is much easier for me to do a Zoom call than do an in-person call. Our team is fully distributed, and I love that we can cover like wide ranges of timeframes for support that we give. And I love that they are on different sides of the country and have a different, like their cities are different, and hearing about how their city functions is just so valuable to the work that we do, especially as we expand nationally. So I would say our team is like a key component. I was realizing that, yes, I do have some people to talk to about this, but I wanted to be around more. And it is very similar to the, why I started Cahoots is I wanted to be around people who were doing these kinds of things. And I've created that. Now I'm on this other path, which is slightly different, taken a lot of what I've learned around building just general businesses now into the space of like building something that's technology driven. And there's so many questions that I have around that the community that I mostly surround myself with don't have the answers to those, right? I can definitely tap a few, but I wanted more of it. And Startup AZ Foundation definitely had that. And even I don't know if we're really going to go and get investment capital, but I want to know why you would go do that, right? And the pros and cons of it all, and at what point does it make sense to do that? And all of these questions that I have that I could probably go like one-on-one and ask a few people that I know, and they would happily have that conversation with me. But it's been really valuable to be around other people who are actually in it, building it, and running into similar problems that I know, in a couple months, I'll probably be having that problem. Or, what, I did have that problem, here's how I dealt with it. And those are similar things that we do like in the co-working space, but the industry is different and the approach is slightly different. And so when I was thinking about that, I was like, oh, like just the answers will be different if I'm depending on who I ask. And Startup AZ Foundation just has more people that are doing startup businesses. And I wanted to get that feedback. I think just having a group of people that you can be honest with, and you and I know we've done groups like that before, right? And it's always super helpful. I think the group that we have here in this cohort, I love the variety of different businesses and while we're all different, there is an overlap in the challenges. And so I think that's my favorite part is every time I go to the sessions, I hear from somebody who's struggling with something that I know I will struggle with later or have struggled with. Or I get a new idea of how to do something better. So those things that like you can't really Google, or if you Google, you get the noise of Google and all the different answers and all the different like gurus that are trying to tell you to do this or that. And most of the time they haven't really gone through it, or they're not going through it right now. And I think the most valuable piece is people who are actually going through it now with like relevant tactics. And also I would say seeing the successes of the other companies, startups in this space, not just in our cohort, but in the like greater network of Startup AZ Foundation, being able to see like that path for success. And we know a lot of them just from the work that we've done, but to be able to like see them and know that they're actually very open to helping everybody who's coming after. I think that's pretty unique to this community and this program. At growing to more communities outside of Arizona, so national expansion. A big part of the work that we do is helping underrepresented communities that even through the pandemic have been even more impacted. So getting big goal is getting like 500,000 businesses to be improving and surviving through the challenges that are coming. And at least 50% of those being women or people of color. So those are the big goals, doing that nationally, and also looking at some rural communities that really need that support as well. And my dream is in 5 years, we start to see the words that cities say around helping small businesses actually be actionable, and a shift of funding. Traditionally, they spend a lot of money on attracting businesses, like attracting Amazon to my city. I'll, give a bunch of tax breaks, but that's not actually helpful for the local community. And seeing those dollars actually shift to helping the local community and encouraging more businesses. It'd be great to hear stories of businesses that have been able to not only withstand what has happened, but build generational wealth and say I no longer have to slave away at this. It actually feels like I've built something that I can pass on, or that is contributing to our community. So we're looking for those stories and we're building those up, and hopefully that will be able to shift massively how local governments support their business community locally. I would say that we have an incredibly kind and generous and open community, and to not be afraid to ask. I think a lot of times, at least I would say specifically for our women and our communities, our entrepreneurs of color, I think a lot of times we get fearful of talking about the work that we do and asking for help. I think we have a lot of work to do in supporting more of us, but I think we're not going to be able to do this alone. So we have to ask. And I think knowing that our community here, especially at Startup AZ Foundation, has a strong culture of supporting and being generous and giving your time and helping everybody that comes along after. I think you're doing yourself a big disservice if you're not reaching out and asking to meet, or asking for help, or joining and participating. I know it feels like a lot of time, but this has been always the best learning experience for me, is being around other people who have been through it, have done it, and are actually willing for no other reason than to see your success, right? Being around those people and asking for help, because they'll open doors and they'll create connections.